So my name is Britt, and this is Jeff, and we are here from Institute of the North to talk to you about Lead North. And Lead North is a membership-based program that is part of the Institute that focuses on enriching the civic lives of young Alaskans and building emerging leaders. And so we do that through 3 platforms. We encourage participation in civic arenas and activities, politics, policy discussions, and then we also try to build through professional development. So we do this because we have 2 beliefs. One, we think that there are a lot of young Alaskans who believe that Alaska can have a prosperous future, and we believe in uniting those Alaskans. And so we hold events all over the state. We have different leadership groups all over the state, everywhere from Sitka to Barrow to Kodiak to the Aleutians. We have a big base here in Anchorage, and we actually have staff down in Homer tonight starting Lead Homer. And so what we wanted to do is really capitalize on one of the things that we're best at, and that's building relationships among leaders from across Alaska. So we hold this thing called the Emerging Leaders Dialogue every year, where we invite 100 people to a different community in Alaska, and we convene and talk about policy. We talk about the issues that are important in our communities, and we talk about, what does it mean to be an Alaskan, to build that prosperous future, to build sustainable communities that we can live in and raise our own families and have friends and be happy. One of the things that does really well is connect those leaders, but then everybody goes home and they don't always talk. So for the last couple of years, we've envisioned having some sort of like a map. So we've all kind of talked about maps tonight. But ours is a map of leaders across the state. So we're going to walk you through kind of our idea of what that looks like, hopefully get some good feedback from you guys, see if it's something you're interested in. But what we're thinking of is a big map of Alaska where it essentially shows the communities, the people that live in those communities, and they have like almost profiles that you can then click on, learn more about the people in that community, and then kind of connect to those people in different ways. So Jeff's going to talk to you a little bit more about what that looks like.
Yeah, and one of the things that Britt talked about is that this is an idea that's actually come up at several different forums. And it's amazing that there's been this much interest. And there's certainly a lot of social networks that are out there, whether it's Facebook or LinkedIn or anything like that. But it seems like all of those are kind of missing a little thing. And so our idea is to have, instead of having to connect with someone on LinkedIn or friend someone on Facebook, we already have a network of individuals all across the state. And so by creating a profile on this site, you would already be connected to everyone who is part of Lead North. And so we'll walk you through this, but this was just something that we threw together this afternoon to kind of flesh out our own ideas about how we were imagining it. So certainly we would leave the creativity to all of you. But kind of looking at a homepage and the map section, the profile section. Yeah, we'll take a look at the profile section. Just something that doesn't take a whole lot of work. One of the things that we were even talking about was that if you register through LinkedIn or connect through LinkedIn, it would pull that information right from those sites for your profile, and then you could add to it. It'd be a really simple thing. And one of the concerns we have is that because in a lot of these areas where we have community cohorts, there's not always strong bandwidth. So that's certainly an issue. We don't want something that takes up a lot of bandwidth for that. So you'd have a profile page. And then the big thing, and Britt touched upon it, was this map. This was just an idea, so I don't want to, a graphic is not important by any means. But being able to, so if you were to search, for instance, someone who's interested in public engagement, and then you could pull up people who say that that's an interest or that's an area of expertise. So you can see I just kind of threw some of my stuff up here. If I was interested in someone who was interested in politics, that would come into play. Or someone who, let's say, I don't think there's a lot of St. Mary's College alums here, but say University of Alaska. You can see who else was in your network for along those lines to be able to connect to it. The other benefit is kind of these buttons that are really down here, and to be able to say, I'm going to go visit Kodiak, for instance. It'd be great if I had someone else who was in Lead North that could show me around, or even couch surfer style, where I need a place to crash, who has an extra room, or who'd be willing to kind of show me around. So those are just some of the ideas that we've talked about along those lines. So yeah, I guess we can take some questions.
Are you thinking of the users of the site, people who are going to have profiles, are the people who attend the leadership conferences, at least initially?
Yeah, so what we have right now is we have Lead North members. And so I think we have about 75 that are like paying members. But then we have these larger networks, like we have about 500 people who have probably attended more than 1 or 2 events. And that might be a dialogue, a large-scale dialogue, or they've attended at the local level. And then I think we have a mailing list that goes out to over 1,000 people regularly. And so that's kind of a larger group. So maybe we'd start small, and then we would build out. And so, but it's just a way for people to connect in a meaningful civic space that it's like, hey, I'm a civic hacker. You know, I'm not just a hacker, I'm a civic hacker. I care about this, and I want to, you know, I could see this group connecting that way, being leaders in the group.
And it's one of the ideas has even been, we've talked to people over in Iceland especially, and people often say, and you probably heard this here, that, Alaskans have a lot more in common with people in the circumpolar north than they do, say, in the lower 48 states. So there's been a lot of interest in kind of eventually maybe even growing this to be the whole circumpolar north, which is kind of the focus of the Institute of the North.
Do you have that collection of data already for your existing members?
We have a significant amount of that data. We haven't, talked to all 75 people, but certainly that data could be easily pulled together. And there are a lot of people, even we talked about with the advisory council as a starting place of those people that would be willing to kind of input their data, if it were to start this week or anything like that. So.
If this was the model that you liked, we're also open to other ideas, but if this was the model that you liked, then it would be more important for us that the system was built and then it was something that users could plug data into. And then so people would interact and have their own profile that would then link to their other profiles. So.
What kind of responsibility do these leaders take on? Are they kind of seen as ambassadors of their communities, or as young leaders of their communities?
It kind of varies. So we focus on emerging leaders. So it's people who haven't necessarily, some of them are established leaders. They've been recognized as a leader. They might hold public office, or they're a business leader in their community. And some of them are just, young people that are really interested in being involved. And so it's that whole gamut. But what we try to do is allow people to say, I'm a leader, and then also we work on identifying other leaders and saying, anyone can be a leader in this state. It's the beauty of it being small.
So yeah.
All right. Thank you, guys.